Welcome back to the Michigan Business Beat, brought to you on the Michigan Business Network. Chris Holman here, coming from our downtown studios in Lansing, soon to move, by the way. And we've made this announcement. We're going to be broadcasting within the next 30 days from the airport here in Lansing. Yeah, Capital Region International Airport. So when you're being frisked right there at TSA, we'll be watching. All right. So we have with us right now the director of the Lansing Regional Chamber of Commerce, Tim Daman. Tim, always good to spend time with you. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well, Chris. It's always good catching up with you as well.
You know, it's a crazy circumstance out there, and I know by virtue of your job and your position, you come in contact with a whole lot of mid-Michigan businesses. So let's talk about that a little bit, but let's start first with highlights. What kind of things have been happening at the chamber that are positive?
Well, you know what? It's been a great year. Busy summer, I think, that's the biggest thing. I think when we talk to people around here is just how quickly the summer went. And I think if you look back, we started the year and still really dealing with a heavy outbreak of COVID, right, in the first half of the year. And then I think the summer vacation hit. And I think now we're finding as we hit here early September that things are really kind of starting to ramp back up. But, you mentioned the airport, and I think that has to be one of the highlights of the summer is the addition of Avelo Airlines coming into Lansing and the direct flights from Lansing to Orlando and to Fort Myers. So I think that's certainly something to celebrate. We've got one of our largest, tech companies, TechSmith, getting ready to have the grand opening of their new building on the borders of the campus at Michigan State University, and that'll be coming up here later this month. And so a lot of things to celebrate, and I think a lot of things still that small businesses and business leaders are keeping their eyes on, and that's the talent and workforce issues and challenges that are still out there, the inflation, and even the supply chain. As you hear, it's getting better, but at the same time, you got this pending railroad strike and other things like that can throw another bottleneck into some of the recovery we're having.
It's kind of interesting. You mentioned the movement of the technology company out there by MSU. You used to move towards customers. Now you have to move towards your resource, which is people, right?
You do, and it's interesting to talk about it. And if anyone knows Wendy Hamilton, they know that Wendy is she's an innovative thinker and leader. And so the ribbon cutting and grand opening they're having is anything but the traditional ribbon cutting. She's hosting a group of CEOs for a roundtable beforehand to talk about, what does this future of work look like, and how are we finding our people? And so I know that, that they're competing not only here locally, but they're competing with tech on both coasts and other parts of the country. And with remote work today, it's very common for folks to be working for a company for Silicon Valley and doing it right here in the confines of their home in the Lansing region.
Tim, you kind of hit a nail on the head, and that's the growth in that tech industry and the fact that it's allowable because you can do so many things remote, and all of a sudden you can get into international markets without leaving your living room.
Yeah, absolutely, Chris. And it's something I think we're all going to have to, as business leaders, as CEOs, going to have to continue to try and figure out what and how that works best for your, for your company. And, I think we talk about that inflation, supply chain, another thing around here in our region. You look at infrastructure, and I know if you tried to drive around the Lansing region over the summer months, there are orange barrels everywhere, which, is a good thing. And, we have $800 million planned in infrastructure investment in our region through 2025, major rebuild of 496 running through the heart of our downtown and state capital. You got the I-69, that NAFTA corridor of international trade being rebuilt in Eaton County down to the I-94. So it's a lot of movement on infrastructure. We're looking at Michigan Avenue. There's the third lane addition to 127. So those are all positive infrastructure investments here in our region that we think support economic growth and future economic development and projects.
Well, I think the economic growth has been phenomenal. And, just north of here, of Lansing proper, you've seen some ag growth like crazy in this last year.
Well, you have, and I think you're probably talking about that Glambia plant up in St. John's, and a couple, 2 or 3 partners that are part of that. I think is it the Michigan Dairy Association and whatnot. Right. I will not get the data right there, but let's just say this: there was a tremendous amount of milk that was being dumped because there was no place in the supply chain here, and I think there are now several hundred, if not more, trucks rolling through that facility every day now with dairy products, cheese manufacturing. And so that, agriculture to our economy, it doesn't get nearly the attention that it should, but it continues to plug along. I think it's probably definitely in the top three. I think between tourism and ag, they kind of go back and forth as, in that number 2 spot for, statewide and economic impact, but it's significant. It's significant for our region as well.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think they've been teetering like that for the last 40 or 50 years, quite frankly. So is your membership and how are you feeling about the next 6 months?
You know what? We feel pretty good. I think it's been, I think we kind of looked at 2022. We thought it might be a little bit of a challenging year, membership wise, but you know what? We're continuing to do well. We're getting great support from our members. And I think, again, as we get into the fall, and this happens every year, and this is why I think there's some normalcy coming back. The first 2 weeks of this month have just been ramped up to another level. And I think it's people are back maybe in the offices now, back focusing a little bit on business and what that's going to look like here as we get into the fourth quarter and start thinking about 2023. So very optimistic.
Excellent. Well, love having you optimistic, and that bodes well for all of us when the small business sector is optimistic. Tim Daman, the director, CEO, Grand Poobah of the Lansing Regional Chamber of Commerce. Always good to spend time with you, Tim.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. We appreciate it.
All right, talk to you soon. You're watching the Michigan Business Beat on the Michigan Business Network. I'm Chris Holman. We'll be right back with more.